Minister just look at me, says, thank you guys for your work. Nobody will listen to you if you don't back up your decisions or back up your analysis with real data.
I'm not talking about voice of customer. There wasn't even a sound of customer.
Welcome to CVM Stories, the podcast on customer value management. Together we explore how companies can be more successful and the customers happier through the use of latest customer value management techniques. Learn key commercial and analytical insights from telecoms, retail, finance, and other industries that drive CVM forward.
Hi, I am Egidius, your host. Today we have a special episode. We will be having two guests, Orkhan Alipashayev and Aykhan Baylarov. They will share a story about a customer experience transformation in Aztelekom. They will give away their secrets on how to build a customer-centric mindset and a profit-centered culture in a large organization from scratch. It's a very interesting story, so let's get started. Orkhan, Aykhan, thank you for joining me today. This is a very special episode because we have two guests instead of usually having one. And we have a very exciting episode about the story of how to transform an organization, which is partly state-owned, from having zero CVM processes into achieving customer-centric perspective and profit-centered culture. So I am not sure what this means exactly, but I hope that Aykhan, can you explain us a bit more about your story?
First of all, thank you for having us. We're really excited to have this conversation. When preparing for this interview, we had a conversation with Orkhan that, hey, let's do a storytelling session kind of, because we like to tell the stories. And it's important to us that it's always, it has the part that actually happened, because we don't like theory. We like practice, we like experience. The story is really about perseverance. Why this word really describes this situation? Because we believe that CX and CVM all have a certain stage at any organization where it's mature enough to be existent, you know? And this story is about the beginning, the building the foundation. It's about persevering through misdirected legacy that we faced a lot. It's about fighting resistance and taking on challenges that we faced along the way.
So I am super excited to go into that story. But before we dive deep into it, Orkhan and Aykhan, could you tell a bit about yourself? What was your career path and what are you guys doing?
For the past 8 to 9 years, I was in telco business. First, I started in mobile. I worked as product specialist. Then I switched a little bit, worked as project manager. Then I switched to the business intelligence, like some kind of transformation in myself happened while I was doing my project manager tasks. At that time, my future manager looked at me and saw the potential I have in terms of analytic mindset. So for the past 4 years, I worked at Aztelekom and Telecom. Together with Aykhan, we built the business intelligence team from the scratch. And now I'm also launched the CVM activities in the company, and I became the head of BA and CVM.
Mm-hmm. So it seems that, Orkhan, you have moved through many different steps in organization, which is exactly what is needed for a very cross-functional CVM role.
Yes, basically story will tell you, our story will tell you how we moved through the structure in the past for 4 years.
Okay, Aykhan, how about you? What was your journey?
I see myself as a CX and service transformation leader. And I have extensive background in different industries, like telco is one of the biggest one. I have experience in banking, logistics, and even government. Currently, I'm providing strategic and operational CX services through a private practice called Dominanta Experience. But up until last year, I was part of the team with Orkhan at Aztelekom, and I was leading the customer-centered mindset change at that organization. And we actually know each other with Orkhan for, I'd say, 5 or 6 years.
Yeah,
something like that.
Years.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay. So when we think about customer experience and customer value management, for me, these two fields are very kind of overlapping, and I personally don't have a very clear distinction because kind of both of them are cross-functional, both of them impact customers through many different pathways. How do you guys define your responsibilities, and how do you define this overlap together?
If I may take this part for the CX part, there's many definitions about customer experience that are generally accepted or even developed. But the one I really like is CX is an internal customer reaction that the customer has with your business. Simply said as that. But essentially, it's the entire journey that this customer has with your business. And examples can range from opening a packaging box. It's about the usability of your website. It's about the call center, a tone of voice, and many more examples. But as a sum, it's really what customer feels internally, his internal reaction to your business. If we talk about functions in the organization who manages customer experience, there's several different definitions for that as well, but I really like the customer experience management function, which essentially maps out this journey and manages it at all the touch points. Okay, so if there's any experience friction a customer has, this function would be responsible for identifying it. It's like an engine. If an engine doesn't work, first you have to see why it's not working and pinpoint the friction. So this is really how I look at it. As far as structure goes, it varies from organization to organization. Some companies have a dedicated function called customer experience management. Usually it's organizations that already have a business process in place. They have the staffed teams. The core services are almost perfectly, the gears are not stuck, they're working. Others have it as a project or a program. I see a lot of companies just having it as a program, which combines mobilizing all the teams and having, let's say, representatives from other streams. And I think the most common, what I see and what we experienced at Aztelekom was having a CX champion. It's an imaginary position. It's not really written in your resume even, but how I know it, I believe I was the CX champion at Aztelekom. At first, we didn't really have like I said, this function, but someone had to own the experience, be responsible for the experience. And I believe that due to my position at the time, was responsible for it because I was factually, I was head of marketing, which spanned products as a main core business side, marketing communications, and BI at the time. So it's all about having the seat at the table, at the decision-making table, because if you can make any impact, you can really manage this experience. So this is how I would say the industry sees it and how we experienced it at Aztelekom during our tenure there.
Mm-hmm. For CVM part, I won't tell you the by the book definitions. I know your audience, or you already know that. I'm guessing that. But for us at Aztelekom, it was like a step in the business maturity. We did a very large project where we expanded our coverage for our services. And every time when you do that, you will literally stuck at the part where you cannot do acquisitions anymore, and you should focus on retention and value increase. that's where our CVM defines in our company in Aztelekom.
Mm. So now I have one heartbreaking question for you guys. So if customer gets the offer that they don't like, so who is to blame? Who is it to blame? Because there's a bad experience. Is it experience or is it CVM? And how do you work together?
Yes, it is bad experience, but created by CVM. So CVM is always responsible for that.
I believe it's a team effort. I mean, we understand that in corporate environment there are silos. We would also like to talk about that later, but it's all about the team and how you work together. Because the way we set up our work with Orkhan at the time was that we would handle all customer complaints together. Yes, at the end of the day, it is the responsibility and scope of certain function within the organization. But just having those sessions for not regular, complaints, or let's say they did some action on their part, and then the call center gets the feedback. We would always go to the core, try to do the core analysis and see what's really wrong, and try to solve it together. Because if you have that silo mentality, you just keep shooting stuff at each other. Either it's emails or real, hatchets. I don't know if other organizations have that practice.
It's always good to have somebody to blame,
Yes. We always said we were to blame. So
I know that in your organization, you went from zero CVM and customer experience processes to this large transformation. So how did you decide, guys, to make this step, from nothing to best in the world type of thing?
Mm-hmm.
I can start.
Go ahead.
That's the for the very first years, the most pain. I had the most pain in our team because I had to work with legacy systems. So we had to deal with very old, very outdated, and no more supported OSS and BSS system. And first of all, we tried just to get the right figures for the business, because business KPIs was not measured. So we are talking like from complete zero, not from like some stage. There was no stage. It was zero. Apart from that, we had like culture in the company that is not aligning its decision based on data. So we had to educate people by data storytelling that data is good. You need data. You have to own it. You have to shape your decisions based on that.
As far as not having management of CX, I would say that any organization has to have a separate function if the internal business processes are at a mature level. And there's so-called terminology as jobs to be done in customer experience. I really believe that if the company didn't define their jobs to be done, they can really start having it as a function. So that would be the main two criteria for any organization to have, to achieve, in order to make this function relevant, a function that would focus on CX.
For CVM part, the relevance comes from the stage that you have your business in. Like in our case, as I said, as I already said, we have like acquisition part done, and we're on the stage of the retention strategies and value increase strategies. That's where CVM becomes very relevant for fixed business, at least, because you always have some fixed coverage that you need to expand, or you plan to expand, or you already achieved the level where you can go any further. That's where CVM becomes relevant too, because you have nothing to increase value from.
Mm-hmm. And Orkhan, you mentioned that in the beginning you had nothing. Could you explain what nothing means to us?
I didn't believe it myself. As people say, you should see with your own eyes. So there was like very outdated legacy system that was built in late 80s, I think, 80s or maybe even 90s, for maintaining the copper infrastructure. And I always, when people ask me like, what was really the problem? Like you currently using this system? I always explain it like in Harry Potter, there was Ron Weasley's house. Like it was small house, and then it was built upwards, and it was not stable. It had many problems, and they always correcting it. So I had the same issue. Like I had a very small legacy system that was not supported by anything. Even you can't access it. Like to access it, you need to emulate the emulation of the terminal that can access this system. So that's why not we, like the whole company who was maintaining this legacy system, had to build interfaces around that and build another interfaces on top of those interfaces. Just to get the data from this, I can say I could not get even daily. For example, you can only do it monthly because most of the subscriptions are monthly based. And once in a month, this legacy system, probably built on like old perfo cards and that worked on that environment, it only do the calculations once a month. So once a month, it do all the calculation needed, and you get the result, like which customer paid, which customer is not paid, which has which subscription, etc. And before I saw it with my own eyes, I was not like believing people who told me about it.
So how could you tell, for example, how many customers do you have?
First of all, my first problem was like, let's define the customer. What customer means? We had several departments, from the technical to even the human resources. Whoever says customer, they mean different things. Someone means subscription, someone means the one home address, someone means the physical person. First, I tried to settle the definition of the customers, which we settled at one home address, one, let's say, apartment. In order to count the customers, we had to count like physical lines. Physical lines meaning the current landline connection to the customers. And on top of that connection, whenever we give also the internet services, that's where we understood that customer had also internet as well. And basically, by counting the payments for the landline system and filtering out the ones who is not paying for the internet services, we count our customers.
Okay, this sounds very good. A good start. So where are you now? It's like, did you bypass this barrier already?
Yeah, the barriers are still there. I just build like a mazes around those barriers. We just we are trying to change our BSS system, and we have ongoing project which is going for at least 3 years, and we are planning to finish it soon. But until this day, we had to do something to work as is in this kind of environment. We set up the like extraction of the raw data, and we also have like several technical billings, which is managing the internet service separately. The other service also is separately. So we gathering all the data sources, and through some automation that we built on both Python and R. We are calculating our data for analysis. So we went from completely nothing and like nowhere to get the data to get stable daily extractions from all the systems and all converted into normal readable format that can every team can use. We also have like automated reports that we were not even dream about back in the days. But we all get there through the hard manual work, because how you cannot change the BSS system. At least you should adapt to it, adapt to the reality that you are currently.
So you had a pretty big transformation, yes? So going from one monthly some, I don't know, TXT extracts to something like a functional CVM team. Could you describe a bit more this process?
Yeah, so one of our issues was the culture in the company that is not data-driven. So we tried to show people that data storytelling in very high transformable environment is very, very important thing, because nobody will listen to you if you don't back up your decisions or back up your analysis with real data. And I understand those people, because if you don't have data on hands, you had to like, I don't know, they were improvised or something, but you need to have it in place. I can tell you an example where like we analyzed some technical data from the guys from other department, and the technical data they had on hands was very dirty. Like people was struggling to gather this data, and he don't want to do it overall, because by this time he was managing his job without it. But we showed him the like when there is an issue, you will not see it. And we basically in the rollout you have very big plans to buy every materials. How many items do you need for each, for example, area that you will go and build your infrastructure on. So we try to analyze that data to see which areas are at which stages, because the work was done very chaotically. But if you don't know where you are, then you cannot estimate like when some areas, when you should start, for example, acquisition. That as simple as that. Mm-hmm. So we showed the data. We took the data as is from the guys. We showed them the issues. Basically, when you see the issue, you should try to fix it. Try to understand why issue is there. You need to fix your data. But when no one wants to listen, that my solution was to present it as is. I understood that issue was there, but I make it like a funny joke. And after that, people start taking the data very seriously in their team. They saw the things that they will never solve without those data. So basically, the transformation that we done, I think, was significant, just by small part of that. And the one thing also helped us was empowerment. So we had ongoing support from the consultancy team that was also empowering them to do it.
Okay. And what was the role of basically consulting team? Is it like, did they do the job, or did they help you somehow other?
So basically, consultancy team was saw the exact thing that we saw and want the exact thing that we want. And in that case, we basically used their authority to make the changes that we need to be done. And as an example, so we did a really big project, online Azerbaijan project, and we had to report the progress that we are making, because everyone knows that project is ongoing, but no one knows where it's going and where do we stand. So with help of consultancy, we built a really good, really insightful report that showed the progress about the ongoing project and where we are at those time.
So we understood how the CVM piece was born. And Aykhan, can you tell us a bit about how the customer experience piece appeared?
It's actually not much of a different story. First time we arrived at the company, what I really like to do is do mystery shopping the first day when I start working somewhere. So that's what I did. I wasn't even let in the branch because I came too early, apparently. I wasn't let in to the branch, and then I had to, show who I was and stuff like that and let in. So let's not go into that detail, but that kind of shows you the culture there. But there were no surveys, no feedback mechanisms. I'm not talking about voice of customer. There wasn't even a sound of customer, and the mindset was kind of blaming the customer, The customer was at fault at most cases, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But that's where we started. We ended up at having a dedicated department renamed and called Customer Experience Management. We created a unit called Customer Success to help with the onboarding process. We do, they still do extensive competitive research. They do an NPS, Net Promoter Score. They do CSAT, the customer satisfaction surveys. And it's all done on very frequent basis, which gives you visibility versus like Orkhan was saying, we would see the data only once a month. Same with the feedback. We didn't see any data. Then it started doing several times a year, and eventually it came to a more frequent basis. But there were several, I think, main criteria that were the cause of our success for setting up the CX culture. One of them, I wouldn't say it's the first one, but one of them is the team. Once again, if you didn't identify why you're doing this job, like what your product is, if you don't have ownership of your systems and business processes, you can't really talk about any customer experience, because you didn't provide the core value. So I believe that one of the reasons we achieved that success was having an established and fully staffed team who owned the product, who owned the process, who owned in a good way the customer. So there was always a person responsible for any uncertainties or any unusual cases. Another was the top-down approach. If there's no support and empowerment from the management, it wouldn't be possible. So I would say that strategically speaking and management speaking, it's very important that management also talks about CX in the meetings and etc. Another case was about the metrics. There are 3 or 4 main metrics in CX, and we managed to get NPS and CSAT as one of the main KPIs in the yearly performance reviews and in targets for all different functions, even not commonly believed to be relevant to CX, but that really helped. Culture-wise, it's about the perseverance part really comes in handy here. We had a lot of moments where we had situations where we saw that system was against us. We are this new guys that came in with a customer-centric mindset, but we're faced with this old resistant legacy that's not believing it wasn't either commercially driven or data driven or customer centric, So we really had a challenge to fix all of that. So it was really fighting all this fights, small fights, big battles. It was putting out fires, all in like as a result, doing all that consistently and doing it as a team, because you couldn't fight this battle alone. It was Orkhan's team, it was other teams that also all mobilized under one umbrella, under one vision to achieve that. But funny story. I'm talking about this, but really coming back to the storyline. The first time we had this first survey. We were happy. Okay, we got some data going in. It took some time to really actually, to synthesize the data that came in, because we had experience with this data. We know what this data means, but we knew that the audience. I just told about the culture, but we still said, okay, we'll go with the fully scale presentation. We'll do a brief presentation about why we need NPS and CSAT. So we started the presentation. We're already into, the promoters and detractors. And the CEO at the time, he was like, okay, wait a moment. And he faced the whole audience and he's like, do you even understand what's going on? And of course, no one said no, but we really felt that in the room, it was tension and also uncertainty of, okay, what is this? Do I need to know this or am I part of this? So he really stopped us and said, guys, go deep dive on the definition. Why we need NPS? How do you use to improve your business and etc. So we spent about half an hour just talking about what NPS was, why we needed it. And really, truly, we felt that the room got softer. The room got more friendly, We got some people already engaging in the presentation. Baby steps, but eventually we became like a more engaged as a team, as a more broad team, engaged into getting these results. Like there are even cases where we just did the presentation, a regular presentation. Imagine that the whole branches from the whole country, they all join a online meeting, and we do a high-level presentation. Because in addition to the actual report, the goal was to improve the NPS through generating an action plan. So we would identify the pain points. The pain points were always at branches, at touch points, either the customer facing, door-to-door team, sales team, contact center, or it was the branches. So what we focused a lot on was...
Could you share some of the pain points so that we would better visualize them?
The pain points would be the detractors would always complain about the speed quality or quality in general. Not a lot of people complained about prices. So it was mostly about the quality of the product. And one of the biggest, let's say, example of this resistance was most of the people at branches were technical guys, And when you talked about the quality of network, they would take it personally, So we would always be received as this, the guys from headquarters coming in and just telling us something, And we always explain that this is just data. Yes, it's kind of indicative because it's subjective. It's the perception of person, It's a general perception of customer at the point of the survey. We explain that as well. And they would always say, I have no issues with my technical side. My network is going good. They would even pull up some reports on technical side. And we would always kind of bring them back that, hey, the customer doesn't understand this. They don't understand how the network works. They just see at their home, at the last mile, that how in general, during, let's say, 1 month or several months, how they feel about our product. By doing that, we kind of explained and helped them to look at the issue from a customer lens, as a customer. That really helped. But mostly it was issues like that, people complaining about quality. But the funny side is, and kind of interesting side, the promoters were also saying they like the service because of the quality, So for each detractor, we would have at least several promoters who would say, we like the quality. It's stable, it's fast. And even the data now shows that it's really a stable service in general.
If you are interested in customer value management, check out our customer value management body of knowledge. CVM Book is a comprehensive guide for CVM professionals, offering tips, tools, and best practices to help you in your job. Visit cvmbok.com for more.
as this is such a huge transformations, could you tell us a bit about your, let's say, early quick wins or early wins in the process of kind of how you were able to mobilize these teams? Because in the very beginning, I understand that this is kind of a tough learning curve. But did you get any kind of, I don't know, thumbs up in the beginning from, I don't know, your management or whatever?
I can cover the one part of it maybe, but when we always did something, we had a certain standard. That standard came from our previous experience working in either other telco companies or other companies. So I would generally say that everything that we did, we weren't completely satisfied with it. To us, it was okay. We did it. It could be better. So the only way to understand how it was assessed by others would see their reaction. So there's actually a truly powerful empowerment moment that I would like Orkhan to tell about how his work and his team's work actually was shown. The empowerment was shown in action. So if Orkhan would tell that story.
Yeah, I will tell that story. That actually helped us not only to receive this empowerment, but also make people trust to the data. And at least if the data comes from our team, they should trust it because we are checking it, double checking it, etc. So as I already told you, we had like very big report about the progress of our largest project, Online Azerbaijan. And we finished the very huge analytical work on the data that we had that was gathered manually. Even some data was written in the document we took it. Some data was checked on the site itself. Our technical team did a great job to collect all the data that should have been there but never was. And we built a very large presentation, and at the presentation we showed the dashboard. The dashboard was an interactive report about all the areas that we are currently working at. It was even dividing it by the progress stages and showing the exact number of households, etc. So report is not so great, but considering that we have nothing, report was really good. And I remember talking with Aykhan, like we watched it and say like it is okay for now. We can proceed with it. Like we already had our standards, but it was not. It was not great by our standards, but it had the minimal things that we should have to move forward. So one day, as I was told later, I was called by it was actually consultancy company. They called me like, we have a very serious meeting with the minister, and we need you to be here. So I gathered my laptop and other things like, okay, I probably need to explain how the metrics are collected or which figures means what thing. And I went there, and minister just look at me, says like, thank you guys for your work. And they like that was all why I was bring to that meeting. So after that, the people really saw the impact of this kind of work, like it not only for this one single project, it needs to be done for the whole company. For whichever the function that is there, it should have own data, it should have the mindset to gather it, analyze it, and use it properly. And that was also an empowerment. And it was also helped me to make myself as a trustworthy source of the data. Because whenever people need something, they always ask me like, where can I get it? Because I already been in every like little system, pick that little data that they have, and this empowerment helped us pick the team that we already have.
What was this project about? It seems very important.
So this is a national-wide project to cover the whole territory of the country with the fiber infrastructure. It was started in 2021, and as of today, in just 4 years, we did a 100%, almost 100% coverage of the whole country with fiber network. Fiber network is gigabit PON network, so it's also more energy efficient compared to the existing copper infrastructure. So we did a lot of dismantling of copper. We migrated users on ADSL to the new fiber network. You can already see for example, in Ookla reports in Azerbaijan statistic, like 3 or 4 years ago, how the average speed was, and currently where we are at now. So we had like more than 10 times increase in speeds, both download and upload. We also had like probably the largest fiber penetration across the fixed internet users in Europe. I checked our data is not official reported yet or analyzed by many different companies that do this kind of researches, but I compared their data to our own, and in 4 years we did like 10 years job of average country in the Europe.
Okay. So Aykhan, after this upgrade of customer experience, did you have any job left to do? Because you just increase customer experience through 10 times bigger speed and you're done.
You would assume that it should work, and I mean, you're just paid for not working, but it never actually ends in there. I would say that it's part of the core offering. I mean, in fixed internet business, it's all about the speed, the stability, the quality of the network, and the last mile. And then only, I think, after you have that handled, you can provide any additional value to the customer. So since we were still at the acquisition stage, the rollout was still going on. It was a very active acquisition stage, so we had a lot of sales activities, we had a lot of new connections, new requests, and etc. And at the time, one of the things that we were lacking when we first started, it was online requests. I mean, you would assume an internet company should have proper online request policy or procedure or process. We didn't have that, unfortunately. So one of the first things we did was create a very simple online request form. But it's not just about creating that UX side, There's the communication side. You have to draw the traffic into that. There's the culture of people that after they get the internet, they can, access this form, even though we have really good mobile network penetration. But the most challenging part would be creating the team that would handle this request, because when you create some new feature or new kind of flow in the journey, it is a touch point, You need to create the business process under. So we had to create a team from scratch within the call center that would handle this request and merge it with a regular process. So I would say that the speed itself didn't really fix all the issues, but it did, I think it fixes issues for the future. I mean, from the CX standpoint, I would say that, but having a team, I keep saying about team, and I can't stress it enough. I think the ownership of the team is the most important thing that you can have it, because customers feel it, at the product. I mean, you can have the best product or service in the world, but they feel at certain interaction with the company if there's an ownership. I do it as a customer myself on daily basis. When I call a call center and I see something like a bug or like a question, I know, okay, someone wrote this in FAQ. good. Or, hey, he sent me a template answer. Someone didn't write the specific FAQ, things like that.
Okay, and Orkhan, how did customer value management processes experience this fast rollout of services? So I assume you had to do some customer migration projects, upsells and cross sells happening at the same time. So how did you handle that?
So basically, we know that strategically we should have it, but we did not have it on hand during the very, let's say, during in most dynamic part of the project. But what we do, the CVM part that you are probably thinking about was done by different teams. Because strategically we know that what should we do, like what should we do now and tomorrow, what should be done, and that's why the scope was distributed. Even call center was involved into that processes. So the one difficult thing in every technological rollout is like how to convince the customer to switch to this faster network, like what he will benefit from. So basically what we had is a very simple thing, is just we give it to customers to try it. Like we did simple campaigns like try and buy, because in the environment where you does not have any like complicated sophisticated BSS and or systems where data can be generated at least daily, not or even real time, but not like in monthly manner. We try to make it simpler, but creating the biggest impact. So we analyzed, and just simple try and buy did the trick.
Mm. Okay, and so kind of you had a shortcut here. But but I like the approach that you kind of you use the things that work the best. And from your as a team perspective, so Aykhan and Orkhan, so what did you learn about the collaboration between both of you guys?
We're still sitting here. As you see, we're still friends. So that shows how the team spirit is still, active. It turned out to be a very strong relationship between everyone. I think the topic is about breaking silos. It's one of the biggest issues that companies have. Data is not shared. Insights are not gathered or shared. That's why and every time the customer is usually feeling that the negative sides of that. So when we first started working, we needed to map the journey. So what we did, we really did a nice exercise. We took the request. It was a physical copy of so the user would say officially that, hey, I want to connect to your internet. A bit outdated process, but that's what it was at the time. So we took that actual paper and we followed it as it does throughout the company. That way we could map out the internal business process, and we saw many touch points that weren't obvious, for customer even, because you think that, hey, this is the backstage, this is like the process that customer doesn't face, but if a technician calls the customer, that's a touch point, that's an engagement point. So one of the situations that I still remember about how we broke the silo was our trip to the call center. So we were launching some kind of campaign. I think it was one of the migration campaigns or something else. So we said, okay, we're talking over phone, we're talking over emails. We never saw the face of these people that would call our customer, Let's go to the call center. Let's see how they operate. Do they have computers? Do they have proper, equipment, stuff like that?
Are they there?
Yeah, are they even there? Yeah, maybe it's some kind of, AI or whatever. But really, we were just curious to see how they operate, because it was operating good. It wasn't like that bad, but we were curious also to see. We write this stuff, this ideas and this processes in the office. Let's see how it is in action. And you know what happened? You know the situations where you don't know the person at work, like you're new. There's kind of a barrier, and then you have some kind of event or some team building, whatever. And after you have inside jokes, you're like all friends and everything is fine. You know that feeling? We didn't have that. We didn't actually have that. It was a disaster. We entered the building. We had very hostile, feeling towards us. Maybe it was, within us. Maybe we felt that way, but that's how we felt. We felt the resistance. We were looked at as these guys from the headquarters. The people in suits coming telling us what to do. So we felt that, and we said, guys, we are here to help the customer. We always refer to the customer. We never said us as a team, as we, the headquarters and stuff. We had that little session. So once they understood why we're doing this, all the barriers were off. All the barriers were off, and what we saw was a lot of input. There were a lot of complaints, both at the process, at the previous team or whatever. It was like a cumulative, complaints, but it really opened up everyone, and even very, quiet people started talking, like as if we empowered them to talk. So that would be the most memorable to me, the moment where we broke the silo. But the key success factor here is not just doing it once. It's about consistently keeping that conversation going, keeping that relationship, because you would be surprised, but once you stop, the silo is built again, because people change, it's all dynamic. You have to keep it that way. I would say that we didn't have those issues within the headquarters team much, because we were close, we were, sitting together, we're doing a lot. But all the remote teams, the branches, the call center, even the sales team that would be in the field, we needed always to do those exercises to actually get together to develop that team spirit, with them.
Mm-hmm. So you basically kind of went and watched how all the processes look like. How would you resolve them? Is it like one by one? Do you solve them somehow in bulk, or do you use other things like, I don't know, to push it through to solve these pain points? Because just to talk with the call center is not enough, probably.
Yeah, sure, of course. Since we, as a team, we like to, think of ourselves, and it's proven by our record that we're very data-driven and we're very customer-centric. So by default, the way we keep it, it's a different story. Okay, we have our own ways of doing that. But one of the goals was to instill that culture in the organization at every point. So what we would do is, we would manage the processes from the office. We would establish the flow of data. We would establish the behavior of, data collection, about reporting and stuff remotely. We would mostly do that. Once we have the data and we had issues that we couldn't identify why this data is, this way or whatever, we would go into more face-to-face mode, because you wouldn't notice it. It can become just a regular meeting that no one really takes serious. So it's really important to always understand why you're going there, what's your purpose, and how will customer benefit from it. And second, always explain why you're there. By default, we're used to this. As I said, we have that culture. To the person that doesn't have that culture, it's really important to always remind him, this is because of the customer. And you can put it in very layman terms. If the customer doesn't pay, it results in whatever is important to that person. I'm not saying that, but or more complicated terms and explanation that will help people understand it.
From you guys, so you had done this huge transformation. And I want to talk a bit about money, So did the CVM and customer experience bring more money on the table or not?
You know, we wouldn't talk about the money itself. We all understand that the bottom line is always there. It's all about the money. But I would rather maybe discuss how our functions collaborated together. You know, maybe give an example the way we set up work with Orkhan and his team was when I say we is the products team that I managed and BI team. That every new development within the journey will be discussed between the team, within the team, the core functions, to understand if it's more on the CX side, just making the customer happy, or about more making generating more value and therefore more revenue, you know. But some situation just granted just doing it, you know, at the moment without understanding why. It was just a fire that needed to be put up. So one story that I remember was so the billing cycle ends, the customer doesn't pay, and therefore the internet is cut off. We didn't have automated payments at the time. So this was a very major issue. The beginning of month, the call center would be booming with calls, you know, we would get requests from all possible touch points. So we said, okay, guys, this is a technical issue, but it's also an experience issue, a journey issue, you know. So we said we can't change the behavior of the customer if he or she doesn't pay. We can make them pay, but we can smooth out the pain, the friction that happens with this process. So we said, okay, how does he understand that he doesn't have internet? He tries to access that internet. So we targeted that touch point and we created a landing page, kind of a pop-up, a push notification that the customer, when trying to access the internet when he didn't pay or she didn't pay, a window would pop up with all detailed information on what's happening, why this person is seeing this, and ways to resolve that issue, which would be the payment of it. And we really did a really nice feature that the customer could access the payment platforms within that traffic without even having the internet. And actually not a lot of even mobile providers have that, that functionality. It's kind of a dilemma that you need the internet to pay for the internet, but you don't have internet. So the CX
you didn't have internet because you didn't pay, yeah?
Yeah. It's a loop that it never ending. So why I told this story was that we saw this opportunity as a CX issue. I mean, we saw this as a CX issue. We had an issue, we fixed it. The friction was smoothed out. The reduced cost in call center showed it, as a data. And then it worked as a resolver of a problem. But then we had a meeting with Orkhan and we said, okay, we have a new touch point. Let's use it somehow for future as a CVM. And
yes, it was basically the new opportunity to add additional channel to the CVM communication, and but let me say that we didn't launch it yet, but we added to the strategy, and we will show the people the value that can bring that such feature for this company, not only on the customer experience level, but on the value level, the revenue generation itself.
So basically, if you need to if you are late to pay, you can also be upgraded, yeah?
Of course.
As a punishment. Kidding, of course. Kidding.
At least, our website is not popular in these days. So customers not often go to website and check what offers are there, etc. But they just don't need it. Whichever it's fine for me for now. What was the proposed during the connection, actual installation, it will be enough. But creating the additional point where can we, additional touch point, where can we show the existing offers, where can we get those sweet upsell opportunities, it also affecting the customer itself on the experience level.
And which touch points would you say are most important in your case? Is it like call center, point of sale, or telemarketing, or
From CX perspective, I would say a customer doesn't need, ideally, a customer doesn't need to know the call center number. That means he or she doesn't have issues to contact, ideally. But of course, it also depends on the part of the journey. I mean, if it's a new client, it's the first experience, it's the connection, it's the first request, it's the first onboarding process, maybe first issue or first resolution of the issue. Otherwise, it's then it becomes more of a, let's say, a retention, or if it's a CVM matter, it would be the calling. Yeah, then the contact center or whoever does the upgrade calls to the customers. But if we talk about communication, it's about controlling the tone of voice and the frequency of contact. It's very important not to bug them a lot, But rather than that, I would say it depends on the company's product itself. I mean, if it's a digital product, I mean, it's the app or the website. If it's more physical, it's the physical experience. It's the in-store experience. I would say from CX standpoint, that's the way it is.
Yeah, and Orkhan, from the sales perspective, where do you sell the most?
From the from the sales perspective, also depends on the company maturity level. So for example, at my point currently, the targeted calls is very efficient. It's more efficient than, let's say, from automated calls. But also, if there is some technical limitations are in place, like I can contact all of my customers with automated calls and even offer something to them. But whatever happens next, if it's not technically covered by the current systems, there's no mean to do it, of course. But overall, in my opinion, whichever is customer's favorite, customer should receive it by this channel. I saw the good experience in most of the digital services where customers is being asked which channel do you prefer so we can contact you on. I don't want any calls from myself to receive some upsell offers or to be notified I need to pay for my internet service, etc. on my call. But I would rather read it from my email, for example. So basically, approach that each customer can choose its own channel. It should be the best one.
So, guys, you went through an amazing journey from launching CVM processes, customer experience processes, participating in the process when the whole country was covered with fiber internet. And it seems that you did a great job, because even a minister calls you into the meeting and says, thank you, it's a great job, It sounds like a really impressive story. But we need to start wrapping up. And for all our guests, we ask a couple of wrap-up questions. So they will be for both of you guys. First of all, we always start from what was the proudest moment in your career. So the minister moment is out. No, it doesn't count. Okay. So Aykhan, let's start with you.
Mm-hmm. I would say if you call it, let's say, a highlight, it wasn't like a single project or a moment. It was more about the realization, the shift in culture in Aztelekom experience. It's one day after 2.5 years, I just realized that, and we had these conversations with Orkhan very often, that, do you remember the way it was? Like, we were looking at some report and just randomly stop and be like, do you remember the text files? I don't know, or do you remember something else? And I even get goosebumps just saying it, because it was a very powerful moment that you take it for granted. You think that's the way it's supposed to be, but when you can reflect and see actually the product in front of you, that's very powerful moment. I would say that that's the highlight of that feeling.
From my side, that was the like couple of years ago. Whenever I present some information, everybody just looked at it and just blindly agree with me. But 2 years ago, this one guy started to challenge me. And coming back to what Aykhan said, like the culture is changing. Like there is people coming from here and there, like who understand the difference that what difference this approach makes. And the guys that was challenging me started a real good case where every insight should be challenged. Like, do not blindly believe every information that you are seeing, like you are watching.
So you saw this data-driven transformation basically in action.
With own hands, own eyes, by own hands with own eyes.
Down the road, I bet you had some stories from which you could learn, and not everything was only easy path. Yeah, could you share some of your experiences in this area?
I would say the whole journey was really hard, but it was really exciting and very fruitful as far as experience and emotions. Once again, I don't remember a specific case, but cumulatively speaking, my lesson learned from this situation was that you need to consider the culture of who you're facing and consider their current state. Even though we had a certain vision and we were going really, aggressively towards building that culture, not everyone was at the same stage of understanding it, the perception of it, etc. So I would say my lesson learned was you need to really consider who you're facing and consider their situation, because your success is affected by that condition. Like the situation where we spoke about NPS just as if it's normal, but people in the audience didn't really understand what NPS was, situations like thing. I think before looking at the customer journey, you first need to look at the internal one within the organization.
And on my side, the lesson learned was mostly about the complication of existing processes. So we had a really good success in upselling those customers with just basic data and very basic offer. But before that, we tried to do it like in overcomplicated manner. Mainly we did a lot of calculations before that to at least try to offer the right people the right offer. But we're just overcomplicated things where you can technically not support it. So the making things easier, making things simpler is my lesson learned from all of that. Because the simpler thing were working better than most of complicated things.
And guys, how do you learn? How would you inspire others to learn? What are your learning sources in this journey?
I used to read books. I mean, the self improvement books and etc. But I noticed that for the last, let's say, 7 or 10 years, I stopped doing that. In my field, I would say, because we're very feedback and customer centric. I mean, the work is built around customer. I would say staying close to reality and actuality is the key. Talk to the customers, talk to the stakeholders within organization, the front lines, the call centers, the branches. Hear them out, really hear them out. That would be the best way to learn how to better serve your customer. But as far as staying like in a good condition as a professional, just stay on the trends, be part of groups, conferences, and etc. That's what I try to do a lot. And I mean, you can read textbooks from time to time. It's just it changes so fast that they can be outdated, really. And there's a lot of opinions. So it's really really important, I think, to stick to your own opinion, which is based off of your real experience.
I just sit and thought that every time I improved myself, that was when I put myself in an uncomfortable situation. Like where I go technical, where I have no technical skills, where I go more analytical, where I have no such thing in order. So maybe putting yourself in more difficult situations is also shaping your skills in a positive manner.
Mm-hmm. I think this is a very wise advice, you know. Stay close to your customer and go uncomfortable, yeah. And I have one last question for both of you. So my mission is to make customer value management field famous. So what would be your advice on doing this?
I think I'll go first because I want Orkhan to finish on that because he's more, close to that arena. I would say whatever you're doing is already a big step. I know you have a very maybe not a mass audience, but I see it's very topic focused, which is really nice. And I think activities like this helps a lot to spread around what others are doing, what experiences they are, because you're more focused about real stories and real experiences. This is very crucial to not having just a regular podcast with people talking whatever you can access online. We're actually talking about real stories that we wouldn't share anywhere else. So I think the biggest thing is about creating these platforms like you did.
Yeah, I agree with Aykhan. Like you need platforms, you need some kind of place where you can share your experiences. You can, but what are you doing is very great. Has very great impact on the whole CVM the whole CVM market, because I was talking with Aydin, who I'm working with, who is my CVM guy. He was talking about like, did you read the CVM book? That it is very great. I learned a lot from it. It has very good points. Like, check it out. And that's where I learned about this platform. So the book, for example, like this is a simple case, but is very impactful also because it has its own voice. Because making it public makes it better to understand, not only for the CVM related guys, but the whole audience, because most of the functions inside a single standard company has some correlation with CVM, because they are either dependent on it or they can work together and bring more value. And like we shared an example with Aykhan, so the CX and CVM working together brings very good value, and that can be for all the functions.
Mm. So thank you guys. Thank you for sharing your really unique story, a challenging one and inspiring one at the same time. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for inviting.
Really nice to remember those things.
Yeah.
Reminiscence.
CVM Stories is produced by Exacaster. We help companies take their customer value management to the next level. To stay updated on our latest episodes, subscribe to the podcast or sign up for an email newsletter at exacaster.com/CVM Stories.